So moving on to part 2 of the Quake monsters, we move on to one that I should probably have mentioned already, the SCARG. So the Quake manual says, floats like a butterfly, stings like a bee, ugly as hell, they're not real though, they're not real tough, but like to bushwhack you. Okay, that was a bit out of kilter. I think the manual could have used the copywriter there, but yeah, the SCARG is like this sort of floating, a bit like the Cacodemon of the Quake series. Perhaps not quite as strong. When I play Quake, these will go down fairly fast. So it says on the Wikia, let's just read out. In Quake, a SCARG is a kind of floating creature resembling a white cobra snake. Cobra snake or dragon snake, combined with a human torso that spits yellowish green gobs of poison at their opponents. These gobs can last up to 10 seconds if they don't collide with any entity or surface in some places. The SCARG is known as a wizard. For example, the SCARG model is stored in a file called wizard.mdl inside Pack 0. The SCARG floats by means of a gas bladder. If the SCARG is killed, it will fall to the ground. Yeah, so these things, they can still be dangerous if usually when there's combined with other enemies, because they come in from above. You're expecting most things at eye level, so they can do damage. Their attack's actually quite strong. That green goop actually does hurt you quite a lot, but they definitely don't have as much health as, for example, a Cacodemon from Doom, so not too much of an issue there.
So moving on, we're going to do the next enemy. This is quite a serious enemy, and it's the Ogre, or as you will probably recognise better, it's the fiendish creature with a chainsaw on one hand and a grenade launcher on the other. These are quite chunky enemies. They're quite easy to hit. I would say moderate to tough in health. You do have to hit them a few times. Definitely a dangerous enemy, especially when there's usually 2 or 3 of them, and you know, both weapons are deadly, the grenade launcher or the chainsaw. The best way to kill an ogre, in my opinion, is with a grenade launcher, rocket, or the thunderbolt. Grenades, they do shoot out, I think are a little bit overrated because they're not very good aim, and you can usually dodge them. You just got to keep moving, and that is the name of the game. In fact, in games like this, we're talking Quake, Doom, old school FPS, the key is to keep moving, keep circling. This ugly effer is taken a few scalps of Quake players over the years, and we'll move on to the next one. Okay.
The Fiend, it says in the Quake manual, in essence, organic buzzsaws. Right, it's very fast and can leap great distances. Fiends stand approximately 6 feet tall. Their back rises above their head, and they have It's a 4-legged monkey-like beast that uses its claws to Fiends have dark beige, adrenaline-flushed skin and a mouth full of sharp teeth. They also have 2 horn-like appendages growing from their head, and the area around their mouth is soaked with blood. Very sort of biological, pretty much like Spring Hill Jack. The only thing that I found that was good is if you stand near the edge of a cliff or a section of water that has a long way down, and then sell them a dummy, they will fly off going after you and land in the pit or in the water. If you haven't got any good weapons, you best advise to run from these. They're not the toughest, but they certainly take a bit of shooting, and they're good at dodging bullets as well. So let's move on to some other interesting enemies from the first Quake series. So we have the Knight here, the standard Knight. Canned meat. Open her up and see if it's still fresh. That's from Quake manual. In Quake, a Knight is an armoured monster that wields a sword. It only has melee attacks, but it is quick and can easily catch you if you're not careful. The Knight is found in levels which are predominantly medieval themed. Right, yeah, so when you encounter this character in the game, generally a bit like zombies, he is dangerous in that he will block your way, and other powerful enemies, for example the Ogre, can swing a chainsaw at you. But actually a more powerful version of the Knight called the Death Knight, which we'll move on to. Let's see what it says about the Death Knight in the Quake manual. This particular canned meat tends to open you up instead. Yeah, so the Death Knight are bigger, meaner, harder to kill. I mean, you see a lot of these in the second Quake episode, and yeah, they're same as the Knight really, but a lot more powerful. Let's see, Hell Knight, Death Knight or Hell Knight resembles a large warrior in a fierce looking blood-flecked suit of armour with a horn helmet and a mask. It has a sword and can also cast a spread of fireballs, giving it a ranged attack. After its initial appearance in E2M3, yep, as we just said, the Death Knight becomes one of the most prominent enemies in the game. So yeah, they're basically similar to the Knight. They have a bit more of a range, but these guys, you can't just put them down with a couple of shotgun blasts. They're quite tough, and I mean, they're best avoided or dispatched at range. The best way to dispatch them is at range, or even you can have them, like a lot of things, if there's any traps, you can have them chase you and then fall into a trap, which I often found ways of getting rid of this quite tough opponent. So moving on. Okay, so let's wrap this up. We're nearly done with the Quake monsters. I'll probably put some more of the more obscure monsters in part 3 if I have the time. So let's have a look. The Shambler. Now, the Shambler is one of the deadliest creatures aside from one of the main sort of level bosses. I mean, these guys are big, strong. Their attacks with lightning, claws or smash are very deadly. I remember encountering one early on in Quake episode 2, and they're the sort of enemy you want to avoid and try and shoot and get rid of from a distance. If you're the sort of person that wants to get a perfect score on a level, so you have to dispatch all the enemies, you'd be well advised to save some rockets and grenade launchers for this guy. He will tear you to bits. Yeah, so it says even other monsters fear him, so expect a good clobbering. He shrugs off explosions. Good luck. I think Quake Manual could have used a copywriter, but there you go. So, this one, yeah, very much like a level boss. Tough, dangerous, but really cool. I like the way it looks.